Hello, my beautiful children and people and places. We have a very fun video here for you today because we're going to be going through and ranking books by their covers. Yes, we're quite literally judging a book by its cover here, and I'm excited to do so. It should be fun. I've gone through and picked a bunch of iconic, classic, and modern fantasy series, really only a couple classic ones, the really well-known ones, and I've tried to find all of their original covers to compete against each other to be the best fantasy book cover of them all. I've thrown in a few just random ones here and there, ones I found interesting and to stand out, and without any further ado, let's go ahead and start judging books by their covers. S to D tier, you know how it is. S the best, D the worst. It's another tier video, everybody. And kicking it off, we have one that I bet a ton of you read as a kid growing up, and that's The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. Eragon. I tried to get the original cover here. I think I got it. There's one where the dragon's face is closer. That's the only difference in the covers, really, but I remember this being the original. So going on in with this one, it's a beautiful illustration of a dragon, to be honest. It really is. I like Saphira, I believe, if I remember correct, that's her name. Her depiction here, it's a nice cover overall. I'm pretty sure we've all seen it, but I don't find it to be extraordinary or the best of them all. I just find it to be good all around. You know, it's just a dragon up close. So right there, we're going to put it there. A beautiful dragon, a wonderful dragon, but it's kind of bordered weird. And with this being the original cover, I get why they zoomed it in. So we're going to stick with this. If it was the zoomed in one, it might actually be higher. Next up, we have Brian McClellan's Promise of Blood. And I don't normally like covers that are going for photorealistic, but this one really kills it. I like the first entry in the Powder Mage Trilogy's cover quite a bit. It captures the mood of the story very well, which I don't think Eragon does particularly. It's just a picture of a dragon. It doesn't really establish any tone or mood. It doesn't tell you what the story you're getting into is in terms of that. Promise of Blood absolutely does this here, with the dark shadows, the actual blood, the disheveled soldier. It really does a great job of that. All around, it's a spectacular cover. So I'm feeling A tier for this one. I feel like that could be a controversial pick. I know a lot of people have a lot of things to say about covers that look this style, but I'm digging it. Jumping into the next one, we have The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the first book in the Chronicles of Narnia series, and I believe this is the original cover. I did some digging. This is the one that came up the most when I saw original cover, though there were a few others. I don't know. This, I think, is it, though. And honestly, I'm not particularly blown away. I do like this style. It's fine, but I don't think it's an incredibly good version of this style, and I'm not going to let my general disliking of Narnia as a whole influence me much here, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it's solid, it does its job, it's not absolutely blowing me out of the water. B tier cover. I think we can all agree on that. I don't think anyone thinks it's the greatest thing ever. Now we have a book I really love, The Black Prism, the first entry in the Lightbringer series by Britt Weeks. And honestly, I hate this cover, though. I don't think all of Lightbringer's covers are this bad, but I really do not like this one. If your cover is just hooded guy in shadow, I'm probably not gonna like it. I'm sorry. It's been done so many times and it communicates nothing. It's the vanilla cracker of book covers at this point because it's just bland. It's so done to death. I'm honestly feeling D tier. Lightbringer's great. Do not say this is a reflection of the actual content of the book. I like Lightbringer quite a bit, but this cover's not doing it for me. Now we have arguably one of the most iconic covers in the history of fantasy. Everyone knows this image who's even the slightest bit aware of the fantasy genre, and that's the original Sorcerer in the Stone. Beautiful cover. Wonderful job covering the whimsical tone that Harry Potter is. Even if you don't like Harry Potter, you have to admit the stylized cover we have here not only captures the series, but it's become an iconic image in itself, and it really couldn't be done better than what it is. Although, with him not looking forward and him clearly coming from the outside into a building, we could assume Harry is about to crash on his broom and break his neck because his reaction time's not that good. But aside from that, great cover, nearly flawless, if not flawless for what it's trying to be. S tier. It's the perfect YA fantasy cover, really. Colorful, but not overly so. It's beautiful. Next up, we have the original Golden Compass. A great series. His Dark Materials is wonderful. I believe this is the original cover. It's the one I had as a kid growing up. Honestly, though, I'm not super blown away by it. The bear looks kind of like drugged, being perfectly honest. And Lyra's just kind of looking off her demons there. But, I mean, it's a nice picture, but it doesn't tell me hardly anything about the story. It's not growing my knowledge. It's going to be a C tier for me. Mainly because the bear just looks stoned. Now we have one of my favorite series of all time, Mistborn. The title of this book might as well be changed to Mistborn. Everyone refers to the first book in the Mistborn series as Mistborn. It's not, but that's its name, basically. It goes Mistborn, Well of Ascension, Hero of Ages. Can we just acknowledge that, please? All right. But jumping into this one, Mistborn is not the best cover ever. It does an okay job of capturing tone. It has some neat architecture in the background, an interesting protagonist, but the art itself is certainly not blowing me out of the water. I much prefer the hyper-stylized new ones we get with the white and the simple coloring. Beautiful. I have a copy of those. Thank you, Elliot Brooks, for giving me that. Truly dig it. That one, I'm honestly feeling like I'm for this one. I'm for that one would be like A tier. I love that new Mistborn cover, but for this one, I really don't think I can go above C. I'm sorry, it just doesn't particularly blow me out of the water. Something about it has never really resonated with me that much. I know some people really do like this original cover. It's just not for me. Next up, we have my favorite fantasy series of all time, The Eye of the World. This one's hard for me to do, I'm going to be honest, because I'm aware the Eye of the World's cover has become, most of the Wheel of Time's original covers have become a bit of a meme within the fantasy community. They're not the greatest ever. They're good at best, and they're bad at worst. Unfortunately, the Eye of the World, its original cover, it's not outstanding. If I'm being perfectly honest with the whole failure to communicate the story really at all, especially with the wrong number of people being on the book cover and not representing the actual party of the book, it's failing on that fundamental level. This party does not represent the party in the book. It just doesn't. There's not enough women, and there's no gleeman, and I have to put it D tier. It physically pains me to do so. The Wheel of Time, in my opinion, is the greatest fantasy story ever told, but it's not a good cover. I'm very sorry. Fortunately, it's getting new ones, and the new ones I do like quite a bit more. So if you've not already, check out the new ones linked in my Amazon affiliate link in the description down below and get your own copy of any of the books I'm talking about here. It supports the channel. I appreciate it immensely. I'll try and find all of these original covers for the links I'll be putting in there, and I hope you guys enjoy that, and it costs you nothing more, and I get a small kickback. So if you do it, thank you very much. Next book, we have The Gentleman Bastards. Fantastic job of conveying the tone. It's this dirty city, a lone person on a pillar in what looks like out in the dock or something. It's a shadowy figure. I totally dig it. Gentleman Bastards has a very solid cover here. I like it a lot. The muted kind of colors really conveying the story, the tone, everything you're going to be getting into here. Although it's not ascended to any kind of iconic level, it is just a great quality cover. That's a solid A tier for me. Jim Butcher, Stormfront for Dresden Files. I like Dresden Files quite a bit. Very good series in my mind. But if I'm being completely honest with you guys, this one's not good. Well, Promise of Blood does the kind of more photorealistic art pretty well. This one does not. It's just another shadowy figure. Cloaked, not cloaked. He's hatted. He's a hatted shadowy figure, but he's just staring at you, and I'm not feeling it, to be honest. I'm gonna go ahead and put this down in D as well. There's also the fact that Stormfront is now certainly a controversial name. Sorry, Jim Butcher, that happened to you. That must be really frustrating. Yeah, this is just overall unappealing, especially with that name on it. I've seen multiple people go, wait, you're reading a book called what? And I'm sorry, my man. Name of the Wind, Patrick Rothfuss. Maybe the best shadowy figure one, just because you have some interesting other things happening here in the art with the clouds and the field. But again, it's just another hooded shadowy figure. It's not doing anything for me. It's just more of the same. Luckily, Name of the Wind has a lot more beautiful covers now. It's been reskinned and resold in all these different editions. Definitely buy one of those instead. I'll link the better ones in the description down below. But for this one, I'm sorry. I'm not digging the cover much. That's another just, it does nothing for me ranking. But now we have one, Game of Thrones, the first book in A Song of Ice and Fire. It's very simple. Sword on blue. That's the cover, man. I mean, there's not much more to it than that, but it stands out at least. When we're inundated in modern fantasy just being characters in fields, looking in directions, doing miscellaneous things, or a shadowy hooded figure, this one actually stands out a little bit. You can easily walk into a bookstore and spot the Song of Ice and Fire series because they're these straightforward colored covers that are just, okay, you know that's how that looks. And I think many other fantasy series are trying to jump on that now, with Sanderson's Cosmere being these new white covers that really stand out. So I actually like that for almost kind of setting a trend of trying to stand out a little bit. Maybe Game of Thrones didn't start that trend, but we're seeing a lot of fantasy covers now that Song of Ice and Fire has blown up, jump on this train. So for me, this is a B tier. Not because I particularly love the art. It's good. It's fine. It's a fine looking sword. But it's certainly been noticed and picked up on because of the success of the series. I gotta give it that. The Way of Kings is a really beautiful cover. It's just beautiful art. It does not blow me out of the water. I think it's good. It would be a good like wallpaper on your secondary monitor, like your laptop, not your desktop. You know what I mean? Like it's that. It's not amazing art on face value, but it does a good job of telling you what you're about to get into. A very epic fantasy. The landscape looks good. The soldier who's on there looks good. I dig all of that. So that's gonna be an A tier. I think A tier there for The Way of Kings. And I actually, if this was the new version, I think the new Cosmere covers are mwah, and I will link those as well in the description down below. Those are truly stunning. And those would be maybe S tier for me because I'm in love with those. Black Leopard, Red Wolf. This one and the next one suffer from an unfortunate issue. Black Leopard, Red Wolf less so than the one after, but it just has so much color that looking at the cover almost just becomes like this chaotic mess. It's kind of hard to pick apart what exactly is happening here. Like, I'm physically holding this book and it's still a little tricky to go, okay, the leopard's here, the wolf here, there's the snake, there's the snickety snake. It just becomes tricky. And I think it's beautiful. It is objectively, like, you look at that and you appreciate the art. I think it'd be a lot more easy to like understand as art and process if the letters weren't really blocking crucial points of the art to really tell what's overlapping what. I do dig it though. I like the hyper stylization. It actually reflects the hyper stylization that's within the book quite accurately because that writing style is interesting. So for Black Leopard, Red Wolf, I'm gonna go ahead and go B tier as well. It's good. It reflects the book, but there's a couple choices that are holding it back a little bit. And I just think it could have done like maybe move the text a little bit or kind of include it more. It just is so jarring and outside of, I can't love it entirely. Next up, we have one that's even more of an offender of it just being a chaotic mess of color. That's The Color of Magic by, it's the first book in the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett. Wonderful, wonderful man, wonderful author. This book, though, cover, it's so reflective of its time. It's this chaotic mess of color. I do like it if I look at it a lot, but if I'm just like in a bookstore picking it up, I guess it conveys what's in the book rather accurately because it's Discworld, which is a absurdist, chaotic awesomeness thing. But I'm not absolutely in love with this particular cover, so I'm just gonna put that in C tier. And it's my personal opinion. If you disagree, you disagree. That's fine. Now, before we go to Lord of the Rings, let's go with The Blade itself, Joe Abercrombie's masterpiece, one of my all-time favorite grimdark fantasy books. If not, no, it's probably just my all-time favorite grimdark fantasy book. And I'm gonna go ahead and say that this one, again, I respect for the bold choice. the cover's a piece of paper with some writing on it. Like, that's just what it is. It's parchment. It's not incredible, though. I prefer, again, the more kind of Cosmere-esque versions we're seeing of the first Law trilogy coming out. Those are better. I honestly I don't have a whole lot of emotion toward this one. So for me, I'm putting the blade itself in C tier. I don't feel like it's that incredible. I like it. It's fine, but it's not going to be iconic. It's not going to totally change the way fantasy covers are done or anything along those lines. And now we have the original cover of the Fellowship of the Ring, the Lord of the Rings first book. What can I say? This image itself is iconic. It's the granddaddy of fantasy. It conveys a lot about the series and even more about the series. Once you have read the book and come back and look at this cover, you understand what's going on. I did a lot of research. I do believe this is the first cover for The Lord of the Rings, and I love it. It's really beautiful, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it in S tier because it's minimal, which I enjoy. It conveys things about the series, not as much as some others, but still enough. And the fact that once you read it and you come back and look at the cover and you go, oh, it's everything's a ring. It's not that deep, but it's nice, and it's minimal. I enjoy so much about it, especially the eye. It's Lord of the Rings. I'd be a dick if I didn't put it in the S tier. Let's be honest. I mean, you gotta do it. But that right now is a tier list of a bunch of random fantasy covers, rather random video. Very willing to admit that, but a lot of fun to make. I would love to see you guys suggest some book covers for me to rank in the future if you enjoyed this video in the comments down below, and hit the like while you're at it. Helps me a whole lot in the YouTube algorithm, especially because apparently live streaming, which I've been doing a lot of recently, hurts me in the YouTube algorithm. It's going to be, I need to recover from that. So if you could help me with that, I'd sure appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. And have a good one, y'all. Peace.